Howdy folks, Cowboy Coder here, ready to wrangle up some truth about Linux. Now I'm a fan of freedom as much as any digital cowboy, but even I've got to admit, Linux ain't perfect. So saddle up, because we're about to ride through the roughest terrains of the Linux landscape. Number 10, Fragmentation. Imagine strolling into a saloon, and instead of one rowdy crowd, you've got 100 little gangs, all speaking different lingos. That's Linux for you, with more flavors than a giant soda machine, picking ones like trying to nail jelly to the wall. You choose one distro, you miss out on the others. What is a distro, you may ask? If the Linux kernel is a trusty horse at the core of the ranch, a Linux distro is the whole ranch, with the barn, cattle, and fences. Different ranches, distros, might have different setups. One might be for rodeos, gaming, another for cattle herding, servers, and another for training racehorses, high performance. So a distro is just choosing the kind of ranch you want. But they all got that trusty horse, the Linux kernel, at their heart. But this can be confusing. Try Ubuntu for breakfast, and by dinner, someone's preaching the gospel of Fedora. And package management? It's like herding cats with a water pistol. A slippery, noisy mess with no end in sight. Some folks say choice is freedom. I say too much of it, and you're just free to be confused. It's like a David Foster Wallace book, without any cliff notes. Number 9, driver compatibility. Pairing up hardware with Linux can feel like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole, while blindfolded in a thunderstorm. Some drivers are like outlaws in the Wild West, elusive, mysterious, and downright confounding. But what's a driver, you may ask? Imagine if you've got a fancy new lasso, that's your hardware, but you've never used one quite like it before. Now a driver is like a cowboy who knows exactly how to use a specific lasso. He teaches you, the computer, the right technique so you can catch that runaway calf every time. Without the right cowboy, driver, that lasso might not work as well or at all. So for each piece of hardware, or lasso type, you need the right cowboy to show you the ropes. But that's where Linux is less than ideal. The lassos just don't seem to always fit. Plug in your fancy new gadget, and Linux just tips its hat and says, never heard of it. You find yourself on a quest like a tech-savvy Indiana Jones digging through forums for that one ancient scroll. That'll make your hardware come to life. And when you finally get it, there's no guarantee it won't turn your system into a bucking bronco of bugs and glitches. Number 8. Complexity for beginners. Introducing a tenderfoot to Linux might as well be teaching a cat to line dance. For the greenhorns, Linux is like a labyrinth with no exit. Sure, there's power in the command line, power to turn your hair gray. It's typing sudo apt get this thing to work please, only to unleash a cyclone of cryptic messages. New users find themselves playing digital Sherlock Holmes, deciphering clues and sifting through manuals written in ancient geek. It's a trial by fire. And without a trusty guide, many a brave soul has been lost to the mist of confusion and frustration. Number 7, software availability. Looking for your favorite software in Linux is like finding a watering hole in the desert. You trudge through the scorching sands hoping for a gulp of Photoshop or a sip of Premiere Pro, only to find a mirage of not supported. Oh, that open source oasis has its charms. But sometimes you're just parched for that mainstream nectar. You end up in a wasteland, MacGyvering alternatives hapless and apless. And just when you've made peace with GIMP, the Linux equivalents of Photoshop, someone mentions a Windows-only feature and the desert trek starts all over. Consarn open source idealism. Number 6, gaming support. Gaming on Linux is like trying to saddle a porcupine. It's possible, but who's going to risk it? You got fewer titles than a deserted Blockbuster in 2023. And the performance? Sometimes it's choppy as a wagon ride over a mountain trail. Sure, there are those who've tamed the beast, running steam with a glint in their eye and a prayer for their GPU. But for every gaming guru, there's a dozen folks in the dust, squinting at error messages instead of basking in the glow of victory. It's a frontier not for the faint of heart. Number 5, lack of standardization. Dive into Linux and you're not just picking an OS, you're picking a religion. Between GNOME, KDE, and XFCE, it's like choosing your favorite child. Each desktop environment's got its quirks. One might fancy sleek looks, another's all about tradition. But the real kicker, no two look or feel the same. It's like every Linux developer decided to throw their own party with their own rules. You hop from one to another and it's a whirlwind of learning and unlearning. One moment you're a pro, the next you're scratching your head wondering why nothing works like yesterday. It's like the time my bassist, Billy Joe, decided to go noodling for catfish, only to realize that he'd been tickling the tail end of a snapping turtle. Needless to say, he's still in the band, and really starting to sound great on a steel string slide guitar with all those open chords. It's funny to think that even after losing to that sneaky subterranean turtle, he's still a totally tubular shredder. Cowabunga. Number 4, limited vendor support. Always had a soft spot for FDR. Y'all ever felt like jumping into that Linux support dust bowl? Feels a mite bit like being in the middle of the Great Depression, with Windows and Mac getting the New Deal treatment, while Linux is left to rustle up its own solution. Them big tech oil barons are busy court packing for Windows and Mac, giving them the fireside chat treatment and the AAA of tech support. Meanwhile, trying to get Linux to dance with some new gadget is like trying to get FDR to stand without his braces. No disrespect to my boy Frank. Got a fancy doodad like a new printer or one of them drawing tablets? Trying to pair them with Linux feels like trying to convince Congress to pass a relief bill during hard times. You'll find yourself sipping on some strong brew, reminiscing about the Tennessee Valley Authority, and sifting through forums, hoping to find a good-hearted soul who knows the lay of the land. Number 3, Dependency Hell. Well, I reckon every Linux cowpoke out there has met that ornery critter known as Dependency Hell, right down in the holler of software installation. What is Dependency Hell? Imagine you're fixing to bake your grandma's famous apple pie. You get your apples, but you need cinnamon. You fetch the cinnamon, and oh darn, it needs sugar. And every time you think you're set, something else is missing. It's like a never-ending dance trying to gather all the right ingredients. That there is what them tech folks call Dependency Hell. Always chasing what you need just to find out you need something else. It's like trying to play a game of Jenga, but them blocks are spread out like Beanie Babies at a flea market. And just when you think you've roped them all in, one goes running off like a Tamagotchi that they ain't been fed. I've got 99 dependencies, but a commit ain't one. And speaking of rollbacks to numbers slightly less than 100, the 90s were quite a decade. A lot depended on Y2K, if you see my other video, because dependencies are everything. Just like with Linux. You're hankering for one program, but lo and behold, it's yearning for another, and dadgummit, another. Feels like you've opened up a can of pogs and each one's got its own little sticker of frustration. You're over yonder wrangling with compilers, battling errors that fly out like slap bracelets gone wild. And just when you think you've tamed the beast, ready to dial up that sweet sound of internet connection, another problem rears its head, sending you tumbling down deeper into that AOL trial CD of despair. Makes a fella think of when Al Gore said he invented the internet. Maybe he was talking about Linux instead. After wrestling with Linux, I'm starting to think maybe he was just speaking the truth, inconvenient as it might be. Number 2, enterprise adoption. Using Linux in the big company world of enterprise adoption feels a bit like old Herbert Hoover at a county fair hog calling contest. He's got the gumption, but he's getting drowned out by the louder roosters. Now Linux, it's as solid and stout as the Hoover Dam, but bless its heart, it's like it's walking through a dust storm trying to get noticed. While the corporate big shots are raising their glasses and two-stepping with Windows, Linux is sitting out back, like Hoover watching FDR steal the show at the Grand Ole Opry. It's as trusty as a mule and as promised as a bumper crop after spring rain. But in them fancy pants boardrooms, Linux is just waiting on the porch swing, ready for its turn to join the hoedown and truly shine. The only enterprise that's going to adopt him, in this convoluted, confusing political metaphor, is as imaginary as that spaceship from Star Trek. Yeehaw! Number 1, documentation quality. Ever try finding a straight shooting guide out in them Linux prairies? It's like looking for a lone star in a Texas night sky when there's a cloud over thicker than grandma's gravy. Some of them Linux manuals feel like old cattle brand symbols. They might mean something to the fella who made them, but to the rest of us, you just see them and get as confused as a rattlesnake in a sleeping bag. It's like trying to navigate the New Deal without FDR's roadmap. You'll be riding through the pages of Tech Talk hoping to lasso that one piece of wisdom, like hunting for the perfect brisket recipe in hill country. Sometimes you'll strike oil and hit the jackpot feeling richer than a Dallas tycoon. But most times, it's like watering the vast stretches of Big Bend, thinking which way to Amarillo, and wishing there was just a good old-fashioned Texas road sign to point the way. There you have it, folks, the wildest rides of the Linux world. But hey, don't let the bumps of the road scare you off. And if you need a little musical motivation, check out my tune, Linux Administrator, the story of a manager who was as stubborn as an El Paso mule. This song is sure to get your coding spurs jingling. This is Cowboy Coder, signing off. When it comes to coding, the only thing we have to fear is Linux itself.
He knows you got work to do, filling up your back queue. He knows there's a ticket in, it's true, dude. but he won't give you access. He would rather see you squirm and fight. That's right, pulling out your hairs, staying up all night. Yeah, he really doesn't care. Full of spite, it's not tight. Locking things down, making sure you can't share. Wonder if he's hurt somewhere deeper in there. Maybe the power he gets from his control somehow is connected to his soul. I don't know. Name to the interview, tiny green tie. I don't know why, such a strange guy. Saw the sign on his door. It explained much, much more. He's a Linux administrator. He's got all the power. He only doles it out if he's in the right mood. He's a Linux administrator. He's more than just his personality. It's really quite rude. Tell me why my ticket's been queued for so long. I tell him this is crazy. I tell him this is wrong. Just sits and blindly stares. He runs another script, says he doesn't care. I head down to management. I really didn't want it to have to come to this. I escalated from the queue. Now it's not just a request, it's something he must do. Then I finally get access and feel so cool. And then I notice something kinda odd about the fool. Head starts spinning, he begins to melt. Is this the Wizard of Oz? What's he doing to himself? And I get it, finally relinquish the power. It's my finest hour. He took a shower in his own remorse and slowly faded away as I watched his penguin poster turn gray. People say, he's a Linux administrator. He's got all the power. He only doles it out if he's in the right mood. He's a Linux administrator. He's more than just his personality. It's really quite rude. Check the faded penguin poster on the wall. 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 Linux users are like, they're also control freaks. They like to have everything run through scripts that they can automate everything with, and they really do not like GUIs at all. Everything has to be done at the command line, and they want full control over everything that they do, just like the administrators.